the line, "I will end all foreign wars," and mocked Jeb Bush, by the way, for being related to George W. Bush and supporting the war.
I'm glad that you're saying it.
Did he not
Sorry,
also
I just
warn
had
preventing Iran
for
from getting
a
a nuclear weapon?
change.
Did
I
he
mean,
not
I don't
say
know.
it time and again?
I don't know how many times we need to pull the receipts of Trump arguing that Democrats would take us into war with Iran, Trump arguing that we've spent too much time on regime change in the Middle East. They're not saying this because they made it up out of thin air. They're saying it because Trump ran on it.
In today's video, Abby Phillip corners Scott Jennings into silence on Newsnight with Abby Phillip. This isn't just Democrats versus Republicans anymore. This is a split within the MAGA movement itself. You've got major conservative voices like Tucker Carlson and Marjorie Taylor Greene openly questioning the direction here, and that's not something you see often. The big issue: consistency. For years, the whole appeal was America first, staying out of foreign wars, focusing on the economy at home. But now with a more aggressive stance toward Iran, that message doesn't really line up the same way. But before we dive into today's video, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one.
Is President Trump too far gone for some of MAGA's biggest voices? Well, cracks in the base have been forming for months now, but the war with Iran appears to be the tipping point for many of them.
It is vile on every level. It begins with a promise to use the U.S. military, our military, to destroy civilian infrastructure in another country, which is to say to commit a war crime, a moral crime against the people of the country, whose welfare, by the way, was one of the reasons we supposedly went into this war in the first place. There will be nothing like it. Open the effing strait. How dare you speak that way on Easter morning to the country? Who do you think you are?
In response, Trump called Carlson a low IQ person, and Trump claimed that Carlson calls him all the time, but Trump refuses to answer, adding, quote, I like dealing with smart people, not fools. But Carlson is not the only one who's souring on this war. Matt Walsh says that Trump's second term has spent too much time on foreign adventures and that it's time to turn the attention back home. Marjorie Taylor Greene called Trump's post evil and madness and said that it was time to invoke the 25th Amendment. Alex Jones apparently agrees.
How do we 25th Amendment is asked?
The problem is to get the 25th Amendment is harder than impeachment. You have to get 2/3 of the House and 2/3 of the Senate.
So what do we do?
Tackle Trump and pretend, let him pretend he's president and publicly report that he's going through a health issue and Vance take over.
And if I was the Democrats, I'd stop poking Trump and messing with him. That only makes it worse. Like, you guys need to watch out. This isn't a guy acting like he's crazy. This is real.
Now, by no means am I suggesting that any of these people are authorities on much, but these are Trump's people. These are the people that Trump used to get elected the first time and the second time. And so the turnaround here is really stark, Scott.
Well, look, they're isolationists, and he's not. He never has been. There's been a lot of people in that wing of our politics that wanted to ascribe or attach their views to him. He just never has been. He wasn't in his first term. He hasn't been in his second term. He's been a hawk on Iran his entire adult life. And I see some of these people now saying, gee whiz, we had no idea Donald Trump hated Iran and thought they shouldn't have a nuclear weapon. I mean, take the car key out of your ear. For goodness sakes, like this has literally been his position since he was like 30 years old when the regime took over. So I don't know what they've been listening to until now, other than this. They wanted always to try to get him to bend to their will. And what they don't understand about Trump is that people bend to his. He's the head of the party and he runs the country, not the podcaster.
Except that he literally ran on the line, "I will end all foreign wars," and mocked Jeb Bush, by the way, for being related to George W. Bush and supporting the war.
I'm glad that you're saying it.
Did he not
Sorry,
also
I just
warn
had
preventing Iran
for
from getting
a
a nuclear weapon?
change.
Did
I
he
mean,
not
I don't
say
know.
it time and again?
I don't know how many times we need to pull the receipts of Trump arguing that Democrats would take us into war with Iran, Trump arguing that we've spent too much time on regime change in the Middle East. They're not saying this because they made it up out of thin air. They're saying it because Trump ran on it.
This isn't just political disagreement. It's a clear fracture inside Trump's own base. And that's not normal. You've got figures like Tucker Carlson, Matt Walsh, and Marjorie Taylor Greene all pushing back. And these are people who were core to building that movement. When that group starts turning, it usually signals something deeper than just policy disagreement. It's about expectations not lining up anymore. And if you look at the numbers, it makes sense why. Recent polling has shown a significant portion of Republican voters, especially younger conservatives, are more skeptical of foreign military involvement than previous generations. After decades of conflicts like the war in Afghanistan and Iraq, there's a real fatigue there. People expected a shift away from that, not a return to it. There's also the messaging issue. Campaign rhetoric matters and it sets expectations. When a political movement is built around ideas like ending endless wars or focusing on domestic priorities, any move that looks like the opposite is going to create backlash. And that's exactly what we're seeing. People aren't just reacting to the policy, they're reacting to what they feel is a break from the original promise. Then there's the tone and rhetoric side of things. In modern politics, how something is said can be just as impactful as what's being done. Statements about targeting infrastructure or escalating conflict don't just stay political. They raise real concerns about international law and long-term consequences, especially when civilians and global stability are part of the equation. At the end of the day, this isn't just about whether someone is hawkish or not, it's about alignment between what was promised, what's happening now, and what the base actually wants moving forward.
Yes. And
No,
sorry.
go ahead. You can finish your
I was
point.
just going to say that, like, what should worry Scott is that the lines that President Trump uses, his base are now using against him, which shows that there is uncertainty right now in the core of his base. The people who actually feed on the media diet of Tucker Carlson and maybe some Alex Jones, like, these are the people and
Let me just ask you a question. Are you suggesting that the elected president of the United States should run American foreign policy and national security based on the daily podcast rantings of Alex Jones?
He already runs it based on Fox News.
That's crazy.
Everything he reads.
He has to run it based on the circumstances.
But why
the
not
circumstances are, I'm not going to let these fanatics get a nuclear weapon.
Why not actually listen
Period.
to the American people? Only one in four Americans actually supports this war. 1 in 4 Republicans actually supports this war.
That's false. Republicans
So
support the president.
just to note
Republicans
that
support the
despite what
president.
Trump
They
said
support the president.
in that New York
don't
Post
support
interview about Tucker Carlson, according to the New York Times, he did speak with Carlson just a couple of weeks ago before this war began and tried to convince Carlson that it would be okay, he says, because it always is. So they're still communicating. He hasn't disowned these folks. He's still trying to convince them to come over to his side on this war.
Look, again, Donald Trump has prosecuted this war by way of Truth Social posts. Okay? So to sit here and say that he doesn't take the word of the podcast bros or anything like that is asinine, because we all know that he doesn't read. He doesn't read his presidential daily briefings. He calls in people and rules by committee and asks, random folks when he's dining in Mar-a-Lago what he should do on foreign policy. I mean, this is not exactly an example of someone who is stable, who is focused, who actually has strategy. So, and it's clear by what we're seeing. And the American people, including his MAGA base, is looking at this going, this is not what we voted for. They feel betrayed by him. MAGA has been betrayed by Donald Trump, and they're waking up and seeing that. Tara Spears talks about
Tara, tell us a little bit
quickly
about your
and
piece.
So do the polls.
You talked to family members who are Trump supporters.
Right. So over Christmas, my family, they are core MAGA supporters. They are not swing voters. They believe Trump. It is part of their identity, okay? When I saw them over Easter, 4 months later, all they could talk about was how they were betrayed. They were betrayed. They did not want to go into a war where there was no endgame. They were fearful that there would be a draft, that their children would be drafted one day. They saw Afghanistan, or they looked back at Iraq. They thought, this is not what we signed up for. It's more expensive, inflation. None of the things that they thought that President Trump was going to do were actually happening. And there was uncertainty. Things don't add up. That is what they kept saying. And they started asking me questions. And believe me, I'm a black sheep in the family. Okay?
Congressman, if you want 40 seconds.
No, I was just going to say one thing that the craziest pointed out that I think is right is domestic stuff. And there's been a lot less focus on, people are struggling with high costs. They're getting crushed right now. The tariffs, now the gas prices, rent, energy prices, and like that is not part of the conversation. and that's got to be part of the conversation. I think that's been lost. And I think it's one of the things pissing everyone off on his base.
Well, it's been overshadowed, too.
Well, also because the numbers show it. We have a record number of veteran foreclosures because Trump has cut what's gone on at the VA. We have record numbers of bankruptcies for farmers because Trump has betrayed them. We have less jobs created under Donald Trump than we did under Joe Biden, and he's betrayed our blue-collar workers. So it's reflected in the polls, Scott, and I don't think you're telling the American people they're stupid for what they're feeling, are you?
We got to leave it there, everyone. Thank you very much for being here tonight. And next for us,
One of the biggest things here isn't just foreign policy, it's how it's affecting people at home. When conflicts escalate in regions tied to global energy, like the Strait of Hormuz, it doesn't stay overseas. Gas prices go up, shipping costs rise, and that trickles down into groceries, rent, and everyday expenses. And that's exactly what's been happening. Energy volatility has been a major driver of inflation over the past year. Then you add in the broader economic pressure. Farmers, for example, have already been dealing with rising fertilizer costs, which are heavily tied to global energy markets. When oil and gas prices spike, it hits agriculture almost immediately. On top of that, tariffs and supply chain disruptions have made it harder for them to stay afloat, which is why we've seen increased financial strain in that sector. There's also the political reality. After long conflicts like the war in Afghanistan, a lot of Americans across both parties are just tired of open-ended wars. Polling has consistently shown that support for new military involvement drops quickly when there's no clear endgame. And that's not about ideology, it's about experience. People have seen how these things play out. And what's interesting is that this isn't just coming from outside the base, it's coming from within it. When longtime supporters start questioning direction, it usually means expectations aren't being met, especially when the original message was focused on avoiding exactly this kind of situation. At the end of the day, this isn't just about whether a policy is right or wrong. It's about alignment between what was promised, what's happening now, and how it's impacting people in real life. And right now, for a lot of people, those things just aren't lining up. And that's why this debate is getting so heated.